Okay, so our final speaker will be Julien Colomb from Humboldt University, Berlin, and he's going to tell us about GIN-tonic, collaboration and research made easy. So I really like this idea of kind of merging the power of version control with Git and also the complex process of management of data. And I especially like that I wouldn't have to worry about the details of implementing all of this on the back end. So I'd be excited to hear about this. Take it away.
Thank you. So as said, this talk will be about GIN-tonic, which is a tool to help people collaborate, and especially people without any code experience. And you see the second author here, Chiel Skutsu, was also part of Spike interface development. And the idea here is to take the power of GitHub. And I think I don't have to explain too much here why GitHub is so important for software development, but I'll do it anyway. So it's parts of the success comes from the version history system based on Git on one side and the team coordination tools on the other side. And all this is now taken up by non-coders, especially for writing text, because it has a very nice markdown integration and some templates to write websites, books, and also educational resource. Some people use it also for lab management, but that's really rare. And nearly nobody uses it for research project management. And this has two components. One is technical, which is due to the fact that Git is made for small text files and research have large files, which are mostly binary. But the biggest problem is that researchers themselves, they don't want to care about GitHub. As you said, you don't want to deal with the backend, and the cost of dealing with that is too high for the benefit at the moment. So we came up with a nice name for our tool. To have style, so it's called GIN-tonic. It stands for GitHub for Neuroscience. And the idea there is to bring more functionality to GitHub for research data and have a simplified administration at the lab level. So it looks in practice, and here I would have to say it's a mock-up because the tool is not ready yet. But the idea is that we have GIN, which is developed by GNode, right, which is basically a clone of GitHub based on gogs. Oh, sorry, how do I get back? Yeah. There you can create a repository basically and then clone it on your computer. And there you have folders and you work as you will do on your computer normally. And then there's a script to synchronize your version on the computer and on the server. What is interesting is those two special folders here, which looks very normal on your computer, but very different on GIN. And it's because it's called submodules. And this here on GIN is only a link that go to a different repository, meaning that you can share it differently and you can publish it independently of the rest. So, and of course you have all the GitHub-like collaboration tools like issues and pull requests. And that makes project management easier. The way it works is that Tonic is basically a bot that take a folder template, folder structure template, synchronization script, and use submodules technology to create a repository on GIN, and then you can get back the repository on different computer and synchronize it. It has an internal backup system, and also thanks to submodules and the GIN-DOI service, you can publish subfolders in the end of your work. So we have a large file support via git-annex, easy publication, easy administration of the repositories, easy synchronization, and last but not least, we have this research-oriented template. And the rest of the talk will be about developing this template. So what we did was to take principle of reproducible reports and research data management and created 2 drafts. And then we had a survey. And we're now in the analysis of the survey and the creation of the new template. And this is very work in progress. But we have good news. People seem to be interested. in the tool, and most people we ask will say they will either use it or maybe use it, and very few people say no, I will never use, and different organizations that would have. But also we had very interesting feedback that made us rethink a bit what the project is, because the unit of the repository was a project, meaning the team involved in the research, but the project is made of different experiments in terms of data and code. And project also has some part which you would like to save in it outside of the project, like conference presentations, that you want to have them all in one place and not in a project-specific folder. So the current status is to have one project-level repository and to deal with the experiment level with Tonic, where you can ask the board to create a new experiment, and then it will create some modules and create different folders in your repository for this experiment. And to work with the meta project level, we plan to also use submodules, for instance, to have the manuscript folder as a submodule, so that you can have the same data in the project and in a project-independent repository. So that's it for now. I'm looking forward to get your questions.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, everyone, please ask your questions in the box. So we have a few coming in. So the first is from Matthias, but I'll ask for him because I'd like to add on a sub-question. So he's wondering what the acceptable size limit for datasets is. And my related question is, I mean, how does this actually work if you need to pay for server space, or yeah, how is that implemented? And if you're a member of a research institute, do you all save by, yeah, kind of coordinating all of that together, or how does that work with big data?
Yeah, so technically you can, it's use git-annex. So it's basically in the Git repository, you just have links to the data that you can put anywhere you want, technically. In practice, we will have our own server. So it's all is open source and you can deploy it where you want. Only the publication has to be done on the server at the LMU, because that's where it gets archived and gets its DOI and everything. You cannot do it yourself. And in terms of money, if you host it yourself, it's your problem. If you want to have it hosted by GNodes, you have to contact them directly. So far it's free, but if too many people use it, it will not be able to stay free.
Sure, thanks a lot.
Does it answer the question?
Yeah, for me, and Matthias maybe seems satisfied. Yeah. Yes, we have a couple of questions coming in. The first is from Marcel, who, if they would like to come on, they can. Just waiting a second to see if they want to join us. Okay, no, I'll read from Marcel. So yeah, they say great project. So GIN and GIN-tonic seems to partly overlap in scope with DataLad. And they're wondering if you could briefly comment on the differences. And yeah, I'm also wondering in relation to data joint. I'm not familiar with DataLad, but so yeah, how does this compare to other packages?
I think the main difference is that DataLad is made for coders. It's command line stuff, and we may actually use DataLad in part of our workflow in the background, but people will never know about it. I think that's the main difference. What we want to have it's that both GIN, both Tonic, and your computer things you access via browser interface, and you just give orders more like with a form, and you say create a repo for me, and it does everything in the background. I think that's the main point. So.
Great, thanks. Okay, can we get Alberto on to ask their question?
here I am.
Great.
Hi. So I have a question for Julien. So first of all, great tool. I was wondering if when you synchronize your local version with the server version, so if you modify something and then you kind of do a push to the server, do you have a kind of a mechanism to do a commit or to comment what you are changing?
So yeah, so Git is in the background. So if you want to use Git directly, you can. The synchronization script is only there for people which cannot command line and use Git directly. So, but
Okay.
and in the synchronization scripts, there will be no commit messages, at least not in the first version. And but you can still use Git normally with a GIN-tonic repository. And that's the main point, that maybe you want the data doesn't need any. So that's the idea to use submodules, so submodules can just be updated via the synchronization script, and other modules where there is code you may want to have commit messages and more control over the version control.
Okay, I like these two ways of synchronizing. So the one for non-coders, let's say, and the one for people who wants to put more, let's say, more details in their comments. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we have a related issue from Horst. So he's wondering how you handle mixed repositories that have some private and some public data. So is it possible that when you're syncing, you can kind of choose which subsets of a particular repo are protected and others get pushed, or how does that work?
Yeah, so this is taken care by submodules. So it's basically on your computer, it's folders, but on the server, it's different repositories, and you can set the access rights of each repository independently and make them public or keep them private. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you just make a different submodule.
It needs to be able to navigate a bit and know a little bit of how GIN works.
Okay, great. And Cyril is wondering what the templates are. So for example, beads or neurodata without borders, or what are the different templates?
Yeah, so at the moment we're working on the first level of folders, which do not go into details of how the data will be organized. That's something we want to do in the second or third step, to have also templates for the data folders. But at first we want a template that just represents the project in itself, and the data itself has to be organized or not organized, but still be there. First step for data curators, first step is to access the data and see how it's organized, to be able to give advice and change the organization. And templates will come hopefully later.
Great. Okay. And our last question is also from Matthias, and he's wondering if you considered teaming up with Dandy people. Their hosting platform is very good, in his opinion. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Dandy or Dandy, D-A-N-D-I. Do you know?
It's more of a suggestion, or rather than.
I don't know them.
So Dandy, you should check out. It's a platform which is completely based on NWB. So you basically push NWB files. You have an identifier that identifies the data sets, and it's quite nice because you have sort of metadata and so on is integrated into that in a very consistent way. I thought it was a nice attempt to. It's essentially a data sharing platform, but built for neuroscience data and based on NWB.
Yeah, the point of GIN-tonic is really to point to this long tail data that people don't have any. So like behavioral data, that you have no metadata schema at all. And
yeah, that would be included
like to
NWB. So that's the thing. NWB allows you to some extent to include those kind of things in. It's a relatively open way of describing data, and you can include that. I think it's useful to have that, but on the other hand, data formats, of course, are kind of annoying always.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm afraid we have to stop. We have a hard stop now at 11:45. But yeah, please continue the conversation online, especially on Twitter with the NMC3 hashtag. Thank you all very much for joining. The talks were great, and we had a lot of good questions from the crowd. So hope you enjoy the rest of Neuromatch, and take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.